Part 61. Looking for the Lost Ship Girl. Author, Hai De Rong Yan. Chapter 602. Missouri was back, with Hindenburg as a bonus. No matter what, after leaving the garrison for so long, going back must be put on the agenda. In fact, before Missouri came back, everyone had completely handled various matters, such as the company's equity transfer and so on. After all, when waiting, everyone was not just waiting around, or playing around, although they did have a good stroll around the area. The tasks that need to be handed over are clearly handed over, and the things that belong to each person in the office are also taken away, although these things may not be able to be taken away. For example, Hood has many notes with essays, books full of notes and reflections, and potted plants that she has put a lot of effort into. Although it is a prestigious effort, she does not know how to take care of the potted plants at all. I also went to the ship girl headquarters, which was full of trivial matters anyway. It was not clear at first, but after this visit, Sugu completely understood that the eldest sister of the ship girl headquarters was really talkative. When he saw him, he said, "You want to catch my destroyer again? Just go ahead and do it. I don't care. Whether you can catch it or not is one thing. When I saw Hood, my lovely girl with glasses, you are not drinking black tea and doing nothing." I was ready to leave and bought my boat ticket in advance, but I still had to wait. During the boring wait, Sugu learned a secret that came from his reputation. In fact, it couldn't be said to be a secret. Standing alone in front of the garden of the villa, gently smelling the fragrance of flowers, Sugu listened to the unicorn playing the harp. "What are you doing standing here alone?" Sugu turned around and immediately saw Missouri and said, "Look at the scenery. Well, you won't bully Hindenburg." Missouri said, "Hindenburg has no fighting ability at all, and there is no sense of accomplishment at all in defeating her. Hindenburg is stupid, but Missouri is very cunning." Sugu thought of what happened a few days ago. As a fighting maniac, he is actually not a fighting maniac, he just doesn't like to admit defeat. I remember that Hindenburg came to Missouri and wanted to practice, but Missouri was unwilling, so he couldn't help but made an agreement. "If you beat me in chess, I will practice with you." There is no doubt that Hindenburg won Missouri, especially when Missouri's level was not counted as high, but it was also cheating. After losing miserably, Hindenburg was about to overturn the table, but Missouri reluctantly agreed to Hindenburg's request. When the two arrived at sea, Hindenburg unfolded his ship's uniform, and the cat cannon was equipped with armor-piercing bullets. She was very proud. Immediately afterwards, Missouri also launched its ship installation. The early Mk7 and Mk6 were equipped with armor-piercing bullets, which was completely worthy of the name. Hindenburg suddenly looked confused. She was still thinking about using the power of the equipment. It turned out that Missouri had asked Hood to borrow the equipment in advance. Just like in the garrison, she was very good at making friends with people. In a short period of time, she had already developed a good relationship with Hood. All she had to do was talk bad about Bismarck together. Next, of course, the Missouri is superior in terms of ship equipment parameters, and the Missouri is also superior in terms of training. Hindenburg has no advantage at all now, and without exception, the Missouri is pinned to the ground. Even though he had borrowed the equipment, he still used a series of interlocking reluctances to avoid Hindenburg's suspicion and lead people into a trap. Missouri's character was already terrible. Sugu said, "Just bully Hindenburg every day." Who told her she was easy to bully? Missouri looked at the distant sky. The setting sun had appeared and dyed the large clouds red. She paused. "We are going back soon, right?" Missouri asked, "Or do you decide to take a cruise? The boat tickets have already been bought." "Don't give it a second thought." "I still think let's forget it. Since the company run by Hood has many ships, you can take one away if you want." "Well, Of course you still have to pay, after all there are so many shareholders, but it can be much cheaper. This time I seriously considered it, but in the end I decided to forget it. It is too troublesome to maintain, and there are many things to do, and it is not used in the garrison. In addition, compared with serious ports, the establishment of a tutelage generally does not consider the issue of deep water ports, and naturally your own tutelage does not have a deep water port. There is no need for small boats, it is difficult for a large enough ship to dock. This reminded Sugu of the random conversations he had with his sister-in-law before, including discussions about boats and RVs. Saratoga's dream is to buy a big RV and live in it with 3 people, sister, brother-in-law, and sister-in-law. However, even if it was a dream, at his request, he could only add a small house with his lips pouted. She didn't know what she was packing, but Sheng Sheng appeared in the living room. Missouri saw it and said, "Sheng Sheng is very powerful. I am convinced by her." Sugu nodded in approval, he is the maid after all. Convinced, Missouri said curiously, "Let's not talk about Bismarck and the others. In fact, they have no fighting power. Saratoga can't compete with her sister, and Akagi has already failed. Lexington has defeated Yi Xian again, and she is going on a killing spree. When we get back to the town hall, who do you think is more powerful, her or reputation?" Sugu squinted at Missouri, "Are you so boring?" Missouri nodded shamelessly, and Sugu said, "The reputation is just that of the head maid. Just be a head maid quietly. She is not a coquettish bitch like you who makes trouble all day long. She will not compare with Lexington." Missouri was not angry, because the two of them had gotten used to it. She said with great interest, "Sue, when you mentioned reputation, I thought of something. Do you know?" "What do you know?" "I finally figured it out recently." "What did you see again?" Missouri said meaningfully, "Reputation is not that simple." "How to say?" Missouri rubbed her forehead, "I think people are very good, people with prestige must do things consistent with their status. If you wear a maid uniform, I believe from the bottom of my heart that you should be a qualified maid and fulfill your duties as a maid responsibility, and then she is the best head maid. Like what we saw that day, if she becomes a manager, she will work hard to fulfill the responsibilities of the manager. I am thinking, as long as you let your reputation be your secretaryship and change that maid outfit pretend, she and Lexington will definitely fight." Sugu said, "I won't do such boring things, and I like maid uniforms." "Try it, it's interesting." "It's boring, the Shura field is boring." After hearing what Missouri said, Sugu remembered that she had heard Hood say before that as a manager in the company, she would scold people harshly as long as they made mistakes. For example, put the documents on the table, tap the table with your fingers, say this is wrong, that is wrong, and use snacks. When she got home and changed into a maid outfit, even if everyone made a mistake, broke a bowl or something, she would never lecture them and just silently clean up the mess. Still a little doubtful, Sugu said, "It shouldn't be possible, counterattack won't be like this." Essentially, sisters are all maids, but in counterattack, they are still little maids. They cannot change their image according to the master's wishes like the reputation of older sisters. The strongest sister is shaking, but she can do anything. Sugu said, "But the counterattack is cute. I try hard to change, but I become hesitant and coy because of shyness." Missouri said, "Actually, her reputation is better. Don't look at her seriousness. If she puts on a bunny girl costume, she will become more charming. She is no worse than me. She might even take the initiative to seduce you. You will definitely not be able to stand it." Looking for the Lost Ship Girl. Author, Hai De Rong Yan. Chapter 603. The unicorn's harp still played, and Missouri folded her arms. After a pause, she looked at Sugu and said, "I have said so much, Don't you have any feelings at all? Sugu was puzzled and said, how do I feel? I specifically named you, bunny girl reputation. You didn't expect it and didn't smile happily. This is wrong, you are not Sugu at all. I don't want to deny it, I am indeed a uniform control guy, but I'm definitely not that obscene. Sugu showed an unhappy expression and said, don't look at me like that. I'm a very serious person. You have the nerve to say such things, so why are you holding M1 in your arms all day long and stroking her hair tenderly? Missouri recalled what she had seen and heard in the past 2 days. She didn't care whether Sugu took the initiative to hug the little loli or the little loli took the initiative to hug her. M1 had the character of a little slut. Of course, character is character, and M1 doesn't understand many things at all. Sugu said, how can I hold it all day long? Besides, M1 is just a little Lolita. Missouri said seriously, little loli, can we not take responsibility anymore? Little loli can be irresponsible, why is your sentence so ambiguous? For Sugu, he could happily discuss any issues with Missouri, unlike his constant tit-for-tat confrontation with York City. However, once Missouri thinks about it, there are traps in every word she says, making it difficult for people to guard against. Missouri chuckled, you know what you are doing. Sugu said, even as an admiral, everyone is a ship girl. Even if you take something and take it away, I still know how to avoid taboos. You still avoid taboos. Missouri deliberately showed a sneer. She had the potential of an actress, and her smile looked very real, as if Sugu had indeed done something heinous, and then let her see it, and she was deeply disgusted. Sugu's voice was firm because he had no idea, yes. Missouri was very clear about all the things that happened in the garrison in the past. She just wrote them down in a small notebook, and then took them out when needed. She said, I usually see you entering York City's room without saying hello. York City usually comes to my room. As long as she doesn't close the door properly, she always opens the door and comes in. At most, I can learn from it, no, I never go in when she closes the door. Sugu, after saying that, he thought to himself that if he went in without knocking, he would really see what York City was like, and he would be hunted down, unless there was an accident. Missouri said, she doesn't close the door, but you can't go in randomly. She can enter my room at will, but I can't enter her room. Yeah, this is your right as a girl. If you are accidentally seen without clothes, you will not suffer a loss. If others are seen, you will suffer a big loss. Pastoral feminism pursues unilateral self-interest rights. You have to pay for dinner. You are a man, you are a gentleman, and they are still girls. You have to queue up, ladies first. If you don't follow this, you will immediately become a straight man. Wait until you have children. After choosing a name, we have to follow the man's surname, and we have to start paying attention to equality between men and women. When two people work outside, the man has to contribute to support the family, and the woman has to spend her own salary. When it comes to doing housework, gender equality has to be emphasized again. Why don't you go to heaven? Missouri said, it sounds like you have a lot of resentment towards women's rights, but is there any connection between what you said and what I said? After a moment of silence, I thought to myself. Sugu didn't force his reasoning. He already understood and said, Missouri, you came here just to make trouble. It was rare that Missouri didn't refute. She sighed, it's really boring. When are we leaving? It's going to be a few days. Okay, you're leaving too. Don't bother me listening to music. I won't disturb you and the unicorn anymore, bye. Missouri left, and then Sheng Sheng came out. It seems that master, you and Missouri are very familiar with each other. Well enough. The reason why Missouri was able to invite Missouri to the governor's office in the first place, apart from the enterprise, actually did not do anything but let the two of them get to know each other. In fact, the main reason was that the governor's office had treasures to show Missouri. The two of them can chat easily, and their views are relatively close. Reputation was also a little curious about Missouri. She knew very well that powerful battleships rarely joined the garrison. Unlike destroyers, which were very casual and could just be happy wherever they were. She had no idea. She asked, "How did the master know Missouri?" Sugu told how he went out with the Prince of Wales and got to know Missouri through the company. Although she hasn't called you Admiral, it can be seen that she has regarded the townhouse as the townhouse. Sugu thought to himself, Missouri had called him Admiral, and then not only Admiral, but also husband, so of course he couldn't really believe it. He looked at the living room, where Missouri was sitting on the sofa watching the little loli playing chess, and then pointed rather maliciously at the side, and said, "If you really want to join the governor's house, it is better to live a free and happy life alone. Go wherever you want." Regarding Missouri, I just thought about it at first. I didn't have any expectations for her to join the garrison. How could I know that it would succeed in the end? There are many reasons why I was able to join the garrison. I am not bragging. I have my reasons. And the garrison is very strong. After all, this is bread and butter. In fact, it mainly relies on Lexington. Lexington goes out, and then comes back. Tell me that she fished it out. Missouri has always had a good relationship with Lexington in the garrison. As for the healing artifact Kotaku, I can't figure out whether she really likes Kotaku or just finds it interesting. After all, baby battleships are rare. Sheng Sheng patted the white apron with both hands, and a subtle smile appeared on his face. She actually brought Hindenburg here. In terms of ability, Missouri can do anything well as long as she wants to do it. It's just that her personality is casual and a little out of touch. She also likes to be real and fake, and she also likes to watch the fun. She is still very pretty. Okay, it was the same in the town guard house, he taught me a lot. It's the same here, helping to get information. I like to talk about rewards, but in fact a lot of them are just casual remarks. Speaking of Missouri, there is also a Zeppelin in the garrison. The two people have given the garrison a lot of help and have always treated them badly. Sugu stopped here, frowned, thought for a while and said, "Actually, if you really want to say it, Lexington, Bismarck, counterattack, many of you are being treated badly. I have heard a saying before, we always regard the small favors given by strangers as great kindness, but we take the people around us who are wholeheartedly good to you as a matter of course." Sheng Xing said, "You are the admiral, and we are the ship girls. It doesn't mean that since I'm the admiral, everything should be taken for granted." As he was talking, it was getting dark, and Sugu suddenly asked, "Reputation, except for the first day when I saw you wearing a suit and uniform, you must have been wearing a maid uniform these days. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Looking for the Lost Ship Girl. Author, Hai De Rong Yan. Chapter 604. Consultant Su always wore maid uniforms to gain her reputation. The head maid blinked in confusion. "I'm a maid, so of course I wear a maid uniform. No matter how powerful she is, what a dashing maid, what a comparable opponent in Lexington, maybe like Missouri, she hasn't really fought yet, so it's hard to say who will win." Sugu is still quite interested in this matter, just thinking about it. Qin lost its deer, and the whole world chased it away, so forget about being a deer. In short, I don't know what Sugu meant by the sentence. Sugu said, "Actually, if you don't wear a maid uniform, it won't hinder your work." When I asked about this out of curiosity, it wasn't because I wanted to see the reputation wearing a bunny girl costume. Well, I was really looking forward to it. However, even though they have been together for a long time, reputation is still their wedding ship, and there is still no way to express it. I have seen many people in bunny girl costumes in the town hall cafe, such as the Raiders and Princeton. The more I want what I can't get, the shy counterattack in bunny girl costumes. Even though the little maid fought back at the beginning, the two of them were already very familiar with each other. After all, the master and the little maid still did not dare to speak directly and won the counterattack by making a joke bet. Because Missouri's words reminded people of the first time they saw Reputation, her dressing up in a suit and uniform made people feel that something was wrong, her words, actions, and image were wrong. Later, when she changed into a maid uniform, she felt that it was the head maid, and she also had doubts. The impression of Reputation, the enhanced version of counterattack, and being generous in everything you do. Even when he said the words to sleep with him, he didn't have any shyness, which even Lexington couldn't compare to. Not to mention my sister-in-law, Saratoga looks great, she is just a talkative player. From the moment they first met, the two of them secretly said, "Brother-in-law, let's have an affair. It's been a long time since we met and nothing has happened." Reputation explained, "No problem, no problem. The main thing is that the maid uniform is more resistant to dirt." Sugu thought to himself that your maid uniform must have the property of being stain resistant, but the large area of white and greasy skin exposed on the chest can be regarded as having erotic properties. After all, it was originally a game that sold vertical paintings. I've only seen you wear maid outfits and uniforms, but as a girl or a woman, you should have a lot of clothes. Like Lexington and the others, their wardrobes are always filled with a lot of clothes, but it doesn't seem to be too much. I don't know if it counts as too many clothes. Anyway, I can't wear the same clothes every day and not wear the same clothes for a month. But as for not wearing the same clothes for a week, that's a trivial matter. I don't like to be self-righteous, and I don't know whether it's more or less for girls. At least from his male perspective, Sugu used to only have 3 sets of clothes to change with each other all year round. Reputation asked, "Don't you wear maid uniforms when you fight back in the garrison?" He thought that my sister had given the master the wrong impression. That's not true. Counterattack often wears a maid outfit. But I have also seen her wearing ordinary skirts many times with her hair down. Her image has changed drastically. As a head maid with outstanding abilities, she is renowned for her quick thinking. After all, she is a character with an online IQ in the game. Fighting big ships is to eliminate threatening enemies, and fighting small ships is to clear the field. Okay, let me explain it forcefully. The game depends entirely on probability, except for fantasy diving, of course. The frequent falls of the little princess are definitely not due to the effect of pregnant women. The accidental factors make people feel that it is a common phenomenon as one pays attention to it. She obviously has such a high dodge, and when a destroyer squadron attacks together, people usually have green blood, but she was hit and broken, even though the big break illustration is very good. After thinking about it carefully, Sheng Sheng said, "What did the master just say to Missouri?" "Nothing was said." The Reputation didn't get to the bottom of it, and the smiling expression made Sugu hesitate. I started to feel that saying it would have some negative impact, but actually thinking about it, it wasn't a bad thing or anything. Even if it's no big deal to say it, it won't lower Missouri's image in the eyes of prestige and cause disharmony in the garrison. After taking 2 steps down the corridor, I saw the unicorn passing by Belfast. The music stopped and 2 people were talking. Sugu tried his best to organize his words and delete words that might be misunderstood, and said, "I was talking to Missouri just now, and when I talked about you, she said you were very powerful, an outstanding head maid. Then she said she had discovered a secret, I just told you about my character, it's very out of the box." Anyway, Sugu finally told what Missouri said. He was also a little curious about this and didn't know how a Reputation would react after hearing this. Reputation's reaction was just to laugh dumbly, and she said, "The white admiral uniform is designed with reference to the Navy uniform. When the owner puts on the admiral uniform, he will subconsciously straighten his waist and stand up straight. Even if not, at least it will be better than the casual dress he usually wears. Better. Wear different clothes, and your image becomes different in the eyes of others. When you make a move that is different from your identity, others will immediately look at you strangely. These are invisible supervisions. Dress differently. Habits will be constrained unconsciously, but in fact everyone is the same, no one is special." Sugu's original thoughts were not that deep, but after a rough thought, it seemed to be true. A shout suddenly came from the living room. Huangrong didn't know what to do with the head maid, so he asked for instructions. "Master, is there nothing?" Feeling that he was such a boring person, Sugu said, "It's okay, you can go ahead. Then the reputation will go first." Before leaving, Sheng Sheng glanced at Sugu. Rather than countering anything that would cause shyness, if you don't point it out she will definitely treat it as if she doesn't understand. "The maid is much better," she said. "Are you going to change your clothes tomorrow?" "Up to you. In fact, I want to see images with different prestige, but Sugu still can't be as generous as his prestige. But that's okay, as someone who is exposed to the internet, and even if I personally don't admit it, I'm probably still cute in the eyes of others." Although he is not considered a homebody, even if he is a homebody, he usually does not do strange things outside, so he is still a secluded home. "I also play a 17+ forbidden game that specializes in collecting girls. I won't say anything, and I will buy pornographic costumes without hesitation. How dare I say that I am pure in heart? If you really act according to your inner evil thoughts, and no one in the garrison will reject the admiral, then it would be really serious." Hearing Sugu's words, he had already entered the living room. Sheng Sheng turned around and said, "If the master wants to wear other clothes to see Sheng Sheng, that's okay." Sugu was still standing there, and Missouri ran out of the living room again. She said, "How is it?" "Nothing special." Missouri snorted, "Your face gives you away. Whether you can see it or not." All in all, Sugu has fallen victim to this trick many times, including Saratoga, Lexington, and Ruhi. Sugu will not fall for it now, and he also wants to turn around and leave. He said, "What's wrong? Let's go." "Yes." "Well, let's play cards with Hindenburg, or chess too." "Okay, that's a good idea. Do you want me to cooperate with you? Do you finally want to gain Hindenburg's favor?" Missouri suddenly became excited. She likes to have fun and does not pursue a specific goal. Anyone can do it. Enterprises can't deal with it, so of course it would be better to bully Hindenburg. She has always given people the impression that there are always some people among her classmates. You have nothing to do, so you keep asking you to go find a girl to confess to her, saying that if you go, you will be given the money to sponsor a bouquet of roses. Otherwise, I advise you to drink. As long as you drink as many bottles as you can, I will sponsor you. He likes to watch the excitement, but it would be wrong to say that he is harming others but not benefiting himself. In fact, Sugu also has a bit of this personality. Missouri bit her lip and then smiled evilly. "Let's do it, just mock her a little bit. Hindenburg will take the challenge, and let's play a stripping game." Hindenburg's skills are terrible, and when the critical moment came, I coaxed her to take off her clothes. "Underwear, just stand up and stop me bravely, then I won't have a good impression." Sugu pinched his chin and said, "It's strange that I refuse your proposal. I'm not a fool. I have a chance to gain favor at any time. I'm already stripping for a game. How can I catch a cold at the critical moment?" Missouri laughed. "Why are you chasing me? I need some syrup urgently." "Wrong, your answer is wrong." "What's wrong?" Missouri blinked. Our universe is filled with protons, neutrons, electrons, and Sugu sighed, there are also gamma rays, planets, satellites, stars, cosmic dust, photons, black holes, white holes. As an admiral, you are hopeless. Being a ship girl will prevent you from being saved. Missouri put his arm around Sugu's shoulders and hugged him. Really, my Lord Admiral, I really like you. The villa is not small, but it really can't be said to be too big. With everyone coming over, it is difficult to spare so many guest rooms, and it is absolutely necessary to buy another bed, so everyone is making do with it. Missouri and Hindenburg have been sleeping together these days. Missouri will definitely not suffer, and then there is no telling how much bullying Hindenburg has received. But Missouri has always been very measured, and bullying is just a joke, like Washington and South Dakota. In short, it won't really make anyone angry. The two have also been friends for a long time and have maintained this status. Let's not talk about bullying Hindenburg together, it feels quite interesting. The crazy big sister is actually the stupid big sister. I didn't have any ideas at first, so I spent the day like this. When I got up in the morning, the little Lolita had already gotten up one after another. There is a black walnut tree-shaped bookshelf in the hall, and Sugu is standing next to it, listening to the little Loli talking. Let's go find the vampire today. Let's just go watch them take classes. Little Loli no longer goes to the academy, but she hasn't left yet. She can only play at home every day. After a few days, she feels a little bored. During the long vacation, I was thinking about school life at home and thinking about playing with my classmates every day. When I went to school, I started thinking about how happy I was during the long vacation. They also discussed going to the ship girl headquarters to play, which was a bit of a show-off. Everyone doesn't care. As a ship girl, everything will be fine anyway. She won't get injured in a car accident on the road, she won't be kidnapped, and she won't get lost after going back and forth for so long. You guys are up already. This was Hindenburg with messy hair. She could barely adapt to so many people. Ready to eat? Hearing the prestigious voice, Sugu saw the head maid who was not wearing a maid uniform. She had changed into a one-shoulder white dress with lantern sleeves. Counterattack, if you wear a white skirt, you will look like a slim girl next door. If Lexington puts on a white dress, she will be very beautiful, and she will not be a little bit coquettish or charming. She has the temperament of a wife, and her whole body always exudes a warm feeling. Women generally like to call women who are prettier than themselves vixens, and the meanest women will never be able to utter the word vixen when they see Lexington, and will only think of words like sister. Yeah, there are vixens in the garrison, mostly Saratoga. Men will definitely have fantasies about good-looking women, and Lexington will only make it difficult for them to have any desire. It's not that she doesn't look good, the feeling of being like a sister makes people want to protect her first. It's not good to compare people all the time, but I still can't help it. As for her reputation, as a mature woman with an explosive figure, or a young mature woman, wearing a white dress gives people a strange feeling. It's not that she is not beautiful. The image feels wrong. I still think it's appropriate to wear a maid outfit, otherwise I wouldn't be the head maid at all. Surprise aside, Missouri followed Hindenburg downstairs. She whispered slander in Sugu's ear, "You can't get such a pure reputation through this innocent route." Black tea never left her body, even in the early morning, when Hood was drinking black tea, she only saw the figure coming out of the kitchen. He quickly covered his face with the teacup, and it took a long time to restrain his smile. "Prestige, this skirt is not yours. Fight back." Sugu thought to himself, I wonder why he is so familiar. He was the one who fought back. Although the little maids were all wearing maid uniforms, she still brought her regular skirts. Hood was saying, "It doesn't seem to match you. Do you only know how to match other people's clothes?" She knew very well that prestige didn't mean she wouldn't have it. After all, the head maid would point out inappropriate clothing every morning. Even though she was laughed at, she was not shy about her reputation. She said, "Except for the dress, which has also been put away, it is not suitable. Then I only have a maid outfit and a suit uniform." I countered by saying that I have a skirt, so I will give it a try. "The counter-attack skirt is a bit too small for you. It fits her better, but it doesn't fit you." As an older sister, she looks much older than my younger sister. Hood asked curiously, "Why don't you suddenly stop wearing maid uniforms?" "Admiral wants to see, brother wants to see." At the last sentence, Sheng Sheng looked at Sugu. After putting breakfast on the table, Sheng Sheng hesitated for a moment before going upstairs to his room. "I'm going to change." Sheng Sheng left and went downstairs not long after. He had already changed into a white shirt, a hip skirt, and a pair of full-frame glasses. In this way, she becomes like a sexy urban white-collar worker, and then at least the level of a manager. She smiled at Sugu and said, "Admiral, how are you doing? Has there been any change?" Only then did Sugu notice and said, "There has really been a change. First of all, the title has changed. The master has become an admiral." Reputation tilted his head, his short blonde hair hanging to one side. "Darling. Even if she's not the head maid, she's so awesome that it's unbearable." Looking for the Lost Ship Girl. Author, Hai De Rong Yan. Chapter 605. The streets are full of people coming and going, and there is a lot of traffic. The sun shines through the dense canopy of oak trees, and specks of light reflect on the ground. Under a neat row of oak trees, two people walked on stone slabs. Why did the admiral think of taking me shopping for clothes? They were already on their way back, and Sheng Sheng was carrying several bags of clothes in one hand. It looks like a lot, but in fact it is not much. The two of them like only white shirts with ruffles and lantern sleeves, loose tops with bat sleeves, and white jeans. In addition to these, there are also some ordinary t-shirts, skirts and more. After browsing the shops on several streets, I have all the harvest in hand. Walking beside Sheng Sheng, Sugu was also carrying a big bag of things, not clothes. I went out and bought a lot of fruits, snacks, and candies, including ingredients for the evening. With so many people in the family, there are really a lot of things that need to be consumed every day. This is not like guarding the mansion, filling up the yacht every time he goes out for shopping. Sugu looked at the prestigious outfits and thought of the full wardrobes in the guard house. He hesitated about which one to wear every day. He said, "Don't you think that for a girl, there are too few clothes? You have already said that, except for the company, we have developed dresses that must be worn for dinner parties and business suits, leaving only maid outfits. Even if you have maid outfits, I think you only have one style." This is indeed the case. Apart from missing the admiral and looking for the admiral when I have the opportunity, the remaining hope is to take good care of everyone, and there is a company that has put a lot of effort into it. There was no retort. Reputation just asked out of curiosity, "Is it possible that there are many kinds of maid costumes in the guard house?" "There is only one kind of counterattack, the one you always wear. But in the guarding mansion, besides you, there are many maids. Like Fletcher and Trust, they are also little maids. Fletcher is very powerful, and Trust's maid outfit, I don't know whether to talk about maid uniforms or school uniforms. The same goes for Tianlong and Tatsuda. Their maid uniforms are completely different from your style. Then there are Kent, San Juan, etc., who work in coffee shops. There are many people wearing maid uniforms in the governor's house, and some of them are mainly because they work in coffee shops. However, Atlanta, as the store manager, insists that all staff wear maid uniforms. Then there happens to be the queen. She is not only good at knitting, but also good at tailoring. She sews different maid outfits for everyone. In fact, in addition to maid outfits, you can also wear bunny girl outfits in cafes, cheongsams, and nurse outfits. In short, Atlanta's requirement is that you cannot wear regular clothes. Sugu agreed with Atlanta's decision. If Lexington, Washington, and others don't care about these things, then no one can stop it. Thinking like this, Sugu remembered that Missouri also said that he would wear a devil costume. However, it was just a casual talk, and the promise has not been fulfilled so far. That's it. Speaking of his sister, he looked at the white pigeons flying by the roadside and said, "Speaking of which, I wanted to fight back together. But she didn't want to and said she wanted to take care of everyone. She has no problem taking care of people, although her cooking skills are not bad. It doesn't matter if you make tea or snacks." Hood, Guangrong, serious, no one is here. There were only 2 people going out this time, Sugu and Sheng Sheng, there were no extra people. In everyone's words, the head maid usually takes care of everyone and is busy, so she still has to give face. It was a rare opportunity to go out with the Admiral, so I stopped joining in the fun and making light bulbs. Among the little Lolita, only Acasta and Venus were okay. The rest didn't have much idea. They wanted to follow them out, but they were finally persuaded. Consultant Su, isn't it good? Sheng Sheng understood what was going on this time and said, "Very good, is this a reward?" Sugu said, "This is the harvest of your hard work. Well, I can accompany you out, this is my reward." Sheng Sheng smiled. As a chic head maid, she was never shy or embarrassed. Exit the street and walk toward the parking lot. The home is still quite far from the city center, so the 2 of them chose to drive here. Not long after leaving, the car was already in sight. As the driver, Sugu took out the key from his pocket. The key ring was placed in his index finger. He shook his finger and the car key was spinning. Prestige. I've mentioned this to counterattack many times, but I don't think I've said it to you. Although everyone says you're the head maid, in fact, you don't have to feel embarrassed. If you don't want to continue taking care of people like this, it doesn't matter if you don't become a maid. If you weren't a maid, what would you do? When he came to the car, he opened the trunk and put everything in. Sugu turned around and said, "It's like Baizai. He has nothing to do all day long. Otherwise he sleeps, or he stays in the room reading comics. Then Saratoga looked here and there all day long, doing this and that, doing whatever she wanted. She spent 3 days fishing and 2 days drying the net. She also wanted to write a novel, which is unreliable. Leipzig is responsible for managing the warehouse. In addition, she likes to take a camera and take pictures everywhere, such as the clean beach outside the townhouse, the sparkling sea, the tangled trees, and the fluttering butterflies. She also looks for Zai is posing for photos. Forget it, let's not talk about it, she was educated by Bismarck anyway. You can do it too, do what you want to do. Sheng Sheng just put the clothes in her hands into the back seat. She closed the car door and said, "If we stop being maids, who will take care of everyone? I can too. You probably can't take care of everyone on your own. I really want to say it doesn't matter, even if everyone has no problem. To be honest, it's okay to take care of a small house by myself, maybe with more people. In any case, even if it spins like a top, the hundreds of people in the garrison cannot take care of it alone." Sugu said, "I really can't do anything to help everyone. Each of them can take care of themselves. Hood likes silence and black tea, Unicorn likes music, and Glory likes carrier-based aircraft. I like working and taking care of people." Sugu thought for a while and said, "Then let's take at least 2 days off a week. Leave it to the reputation, it doesn't matter, and I have you by my side, right? From the time we came out in the morning to now it was almost afternoon. We spent a lot of time together and observed her intentionally. Sugu said with a smile, to be honest, reputation, you are not wearing a maid uniform, your personality has changed. What happened? Hard to say. Sugu frowned and thought to himself, he was still cool and carefree, and his subconscious behavior of taking care of others was still the same. It cannot be said that she is humble. As a maid, her reputation has never been so humble. On the contrary, she has a calm and unrestrained attitude of taking care of everyone. Nowadays, I feel more energetic and alive. After sitting in the driver's seat, Sugukei fastened his seat belt. Sheng Sheng was sitting in the passenger seat. She smiled and said nonchalantly, no matter what clothes you wear, you are my master. I am your head maid. Charge. No matter what you wear, you are my admiral and I am your wedding ship. Tear. My husband, dear, sir, darling, whatever you want me to wear, I will. A fatal blow. Reputation blinked and unexpectedly showed a naughty smile. I heard about the counterattack, and you want to see me wearing a bunny girl costume. Behead. Sugu put his hands on the steering wheel, lowered his head and thought to himself, I admit that you are a cool maid, you are not shy. Well, then think about the bunny girl costume, low-cut, open-backed, sculpted tights, paired with bunny ears, black stockings, plush tails, and high heels. Bending down, standing on tiptoes, the legs wrapped in black silk are slender, and the well-tailored clothes outline the attractive curves of the chest, waist, and hips, especially the round buttocks, which are so handy, and then holding the tray in hand, may I ask you want some rabbit today? This bunny is okay. After stepping on the clutch and brake, reaching out to shift the gear skillfully, releasing the clutch and then stepping on the accelerator, Sugu was rarely hypocritical, whatever, it's up to you. She burst out laughing. She put one hand on the car window and looked out. She felt like she had changed without wearing the maid uniform. I couldn't say that she had changed. She had been imagining the scene since she became a wedding ship, and no one had it. A Girl's Heart. Looking for the Lost Ship Girl. Author, Hai De Rong Yan. Chapter 606. It was already afternoon when I drove home. I parked the car in the garage and felt something in my heart. I caressed the metal of the car body. I have driven it many times in the past few days and I still like it quite a lot. This is probably the last time I will drive it. After all, we were leaving, and there was no way to take the car with us. Carrying the things I bought in the city center, I returned to the living room of the villa. Unexpectedly, there were many people sitting there, seemingly waiting for the two of them. Hood was drinking tea, reading, and petting the cat as usual, and Ginger was curled up on her legs as usual. Hindenburg was sitting next to her, bent over, as if looking at something on the coffee table. Hood probably taught her something, and the notes were placed on the coffee table. Her movements were really inelegant. She spread her legs, put her hands and arms on her legs, lowered her head, and her short hair hung down to cover the side of her face. Now that he has come here, he will of course conduct exercises, and then Hindenburg's failure is inevitable. After all, there is such a big difference in training levels, and Hood has still strengthened. Unlike Missouri, who failed, she would chase everyone and ask how they should fight better. The British and German ships did not deal with it, and Hindenburg showed no sign of failure. As a battleship, Hindenburg still needs to work hard to fish it out. In the end, Sugu and Hood mentioned that you can take the initiative to find Hindenburg and help her. So Hood took the initiative to find him. No matter how arrogant Hindenburg was, he would not disdain her. She just waited for the steps. In fact, this girl with short gray hair often has an evil and arrogant smile, but that is just a superficial appearance. In fact, she is just stupid. The fish cake was held on top of Somerez's head. It wasn't like Suk Bader and Xiao Zai's top pets were trying to be cute. Sugu knew very well that this little loli just liked to do weird things. There were many people and many performances. In short, when they saw Suguhi coming in, they immediately became excited. Edinburgh and Belfast were chatting, and they were the first to say, "Hey, are you back from the date?" To everyone, when the admiral and wedding ship go out together, even if they are doing business, it is still a date. This is not just business, but shopping. This is not the first time that he has encountered booing. He often encounters it in the guarding mansion. Sugu has long been indifferent. He said, "Yes, I'm back." "Well, do you want to accompany you next time?" Hood smiled. The admiral has become very frivolous. Royal Oak was not seen in the living room, but Royal Ark was leaning on the armrest of the sofa with her elbows, supporting the side of her face with the back of her hand, with a helpless expression. Gain Guangrong was beside her and refused to listen. As Sugu finished speaking, Guangrong gave up the Royal Ark, crossed his chest with one hand, and put the other hand into a fist under his chin. "I will go next time." Sirius sat quietly, not reading or doing anything, as if he didn't care about anything. This was just this girl's habit. The girl looked cold on the outside but very hot on the inside. "I want to go too," the girl said. The pursuer was arrogant and she said, "I don't want to go." During the conversation, Edinburgh and Belfast stared at Sugu and Sheng Sheng, trying hard to see that something was wrong with the two people. Not to mention reputation, the head maid is not easy to compare with others. Don't say that he mentioned sleeping with his face without changing his face. He wanted to push his sister into the fire pit with his front legs, but his sister came over with his back legs. His face was not red and his heart was not beating. They were still good sisters who were close to each other. Besides, Sugu had been trained in the dangerous guard house, so he could just pretend that nothing happened. Speaking of which, nothing really happened to the two of them. "Consultant Su, what are you looking at? What did you do when you went out on a date? I told you a long time ago that I will buy some clothes for reputation. You've been gone for a long time and you're just going to buy clothes." Guangrong laughed. "Did anything special happen? Does eating count? I went out in the morning and ate at a roadside restaurant at noon. It was not a couple's meal. The steak is expensive and the taste is not good. It's a big loss." Edinburgh straightened his legs, stretched his waist, and said, "Did you hold hands and kiss?" As expected, her reputation is very powerful and she is not shy at all. She replied, "I am a wedding ship. It doesn't matter what I do, right? Do you think so?" Now, a bunch of people suddenly lost their energy. Yes, the admiral and the wedding ship are already a couple. Dating is no big deal at all, and it doesn't even matter what they do. The teasing has no taste anymore, and the teasing has no taste anymore. It is boring. But Ark Royal stirred his hair with his fingers and suddenly said, "Hood still sleeps with the admiral every day. Will there be a baby?" This was the voice of M1, and she gave Hood a head knock. "Little slut." After Hood finished speaking, his face turned a little red. After all, not everyone seems to have such a great reputation. She was still thinking about what happened these days, and then she became the target of everyone's attacks. "Hood, does the admiral sleep with you in his arms every night? Are you considered newlyweds? A little farewell is better than a newlywed. Isn't the admiral awesome at night? Hood, you have been unlucky for so long, but you are finally lucky. No one is competing with you for the position of admiral. A group of girls living together at home is actually quite dirty." Hood said that it was the glory of the Royal Navy. It would be okay if she was always dignified and elegant, but she had a weak side and no one was afraid of her at all. It was very interesting to make fun of Hood, but Hindenburg curled his lips, thinking that he had no respect for elders and juniors, and all needed to be taught a lesson. Not long after, everyone finally looked away from Hood, who was bowing his head, and again focused on the things Sugu brought back with his reputation. "Show us what you bought." Sheng Sheng said, "Just watch it. Then, fight back and go to the kitchen with me." She carried the ingredients to the kitchen, and counterattack followed. The rest of the shopping was done, and the clothes were placed on the side chair. The pursuer who was the closest was the first to take them over and look at them. After going to the Kanyang headquarters and showing off a bit, the little loli paid more attention to the fruits, candies, and snacks placed on the coffee table. She couldn't wait to open them and start eating. Huda was drinking tea quietly, but he could still see her eyes wandering over her clothes. She watched her pursuer pick up the shirt and gesture in front of her, and saw Guangrong pull out a pair of jeans. "This one is beautiful. I think this t-shirt looks good." Guangrong put down the clothes in his hands. "Really, Admiral, take me out next time." Sugu said, "Actually, I'm not good at buying clothes either. You'd better wait until you get back to the governor's house and let Richelieu help you." Guangrong blinked, "But if you think it's good looking, that's enough. Women should look good to please themselves." Sugu is finally tired. "You all like straight shots, right?" After being out for half a day, Sugu was indeed very tired. He sat on the sofa and drank tea, one cup after another like a cow. As the troublemaker, Missouri ran to Sugu and asked, "Did nothing really happen to you?" "No. You are very weak. As long as you like it, just say it. Didn't you go to a love hotel?" Missouri looked around, lowered her voice, and lightly opened her red lips. The lips touched the ears and lips lightly, and the teeth bit the ears. Black stockings were paired with underwear that highlighted the curves of the breasts, and the skirt was gently lifted, and slowly faded away. Stockings, revealing soft skin, turn your back, unbutton your bra, revealing your beautiful back and shoulders. Sugu looked at Missouri. "You are very talented in literature, but you used it in the wrong place." He sighed, "You are really hopeless. If you continue like this, I will join hands with Hindenburg to deal with you." Missouri stretched out her hand to comb her hair charmingly, and gave Sugu a wink, saying, "Come on, I'll take care of everything. In order to create opportunities for you, it's okay to transform into a big devil." Hindenburg was simply holding her back, so Sugu decided to forget it. He said, "I only saw Hood teaching her Hindenburg. As a friend, you are too heartless." Missouri pretended to be disappointed. "At my level, I'm not much better than her. And I told her in a nice voice that she thought I had set a trap. I deliberately trained her, but she felt it was good, and she believed the lies. You said you were a good person, how did you become like this?" Missouri put his hands on his hair, and then slid his hands from the top of his head down to his neck. "She believes in the British ships, but she doesn't want to believe in me. She already trusts you." After speaking, Sugu thought of the reputation promised. However, before leaving, the head maid did not put on the bunny girl costume, which was a bit disappointing. But think about it, in general, bunny girl costumes are considered immodest clothes, so how could they be found here? Even in the garrison, there is still an evil admiral who is causing trouble, and only a few people such as Princeton and raiders who are more discerning will wear it in the coffee shop. If you want to see the famous bunny girl costume, you probably have to wait until you return to the town hall. There is no other possibility. But we went out together and went on dates, so to speak, and the relationship finally got a big step closer. When Missouri returned with Hindenburg, they had already bought their ferry tickets, and now it was time to leave. She started packing various things in the morning. Little Loli wanted to dismantle the tree-shaped bookshelf in the living room into wooden boards and take them away. Mainly because they liked it, but Sugu refused. Anyway, he thought that it would be enough to bring important things, clothes that are easy to carry, and small items that are worthy of nostalgia. After all, he has lived here for so long. There are some more important things that need to be reminded, Sugu said, you must bring some books, or chess, and cards, etc., things that can be used for entertainment. Everyone in the company has done a lot of tasks on a daily basis and is very experienced. You know, I brought a lot as a ship girl. She doesn't care whether the luggage is heavy or not, and her strength is unparalleled. Only Missouri didn't matter, she said, Sue, you can use it for entertainment. Then Hindenburg can also use it for entertainment. Sugu turned around and stared at Missouri, deliberately looking up and down, wanting to make Missouri unhappy. In this way, I noticed that Missouri is really a beauty. Her wavy brown hair is very impressive, her star-shaped earrings are very good, her appearance is charming, her breasts are large, her waist is slender and strong, and her thighs are slender and sexy. He said, you can also use it for entertainment. Missouri provoked, I'm afraid you don't dare. She was happy again. By the way, it would be great if we met the deep-sea ship girl on the way back. With such a gorgeous team, we can defeat any enemy. Don't be so clumsy, it's not enough. Compared to suppressing Yamato Fukakai, our team is worse. We don't have an aircraft carrier to clear the ground, and we don't have enough battleships. Missouri had heard about that battle and specifically found someone to review it for her, such as the USS Guam, who served as a war correspondent. Think about it, even if you were in Yamato Fukamai's position, you wouldn't be able to fight well at all. Fortunately, she is a companion, not an enemy. She said, when we return to the townhouse, we will encounter another deep-sea attack. Sugu suddenly felt like he was looking forward to some activity. A shout of "The Admiral is gone" came from the front, and Sugu said, he's gone. Missouri carried the things and said as he walked, before I came here, I said I would be back soon, but now it's timed out. There is no way. Go back and accept your punishment. It doesn't matter, Sugu replied. Lexington's punishment didn't matter at all. He wasn't afraid at all. The worst thing he could do was go to the Prince of Wales's room and sleep. Actually, think about it, MRS Lexington keeps saying that it doesn't matter how many people you marry, and if she still wants to help take the initiative to marry Yuxian, she will be jealous. Reputation and Hood went back, 2 wedding ships. In this situation, with a sense of crisis, she will definitely be gentle and considerate. Almost everyone carries a lot of luggage, including trolley cases, handbags, backpacks, and suitcases. The villa was locked and the spare key had already been handed over to the ship girl headquarters. There was no need, the eldest sister from the ship girl headquarters came over to see her off. Ship girls value feelings more than anyone else. Memories, longing, pursuit, sustenance, love, and needs are what they need to survive as elves and heroic spirits. We are all friends, and Missouri is also a friend, so a farewell is indispensable. There is no need to wait at the dock, just bring your things and board the ship directly to find your own cabin, and then wait quietly for the ship to depart. The clouds in the sky are like fine fish scales, and seagulls fly across the blue sky. Walking on the deck and walking through the corridor, taking a deep breath of air, Sugu said, you can go home. Hood stood beside him, yes. It's been a long time since I came out, and it will be almost summer when I go back. Xiazai, Lexington, Saratoga, Hood, you can finally meet the Bismarck you like, and fall in love with each other. Hood's dignity calmed down, I'm so happy to go home, Admiral, don't say depressing words. I don't want to see that cat, that damn cat. Recalling the always serious and rigid Bismarck, she also had a duplicitous side. Sugu looked at the sky and said, Bismarck is actually very soft. Hood hummed twice, non-committal. We went to the cabin, put down our things, and waited for a long time. As the whistle sounded, the cruise ship began to move away from the dock. Sugu leaned against the window of the cabin. He looked at the sapphire-like sea and imagined that from the sky, in the boundless sea, the cruise ship might look like leaves. He was thinking a little funny, this round of bumper harvest, a wave of fat. The dream of Xiaozai, no, it is now my responsibility, and it is much closer. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Looking for the Lost Ship Girl. Author, Hai De Rong Yan. Chapter 607. I could have had a good meeting with the Admiral, but I just missed it. Actually, I can't say it's just right, there's still some time left, but it's a pity anyway. The short silver-gray hair was blown up by the wind. When the sea breeze stopped, he stretched out two hands to arrange the hair. However, the hair on both sides that stood up like cat ears still couldn't be tidied down. Wearing a white shirt on top, a black leather jacket on top, and a pair of straight jeans on the bottom, the handsome Bismarck was sitting on a bench, looking at the little Lolita who was sitting beside the flower garden not far away with thoughts. Suddenly a voice rang out, "Sister, here you go." A can of beer was handed over from behind, and Bismarck took it easily. She turned around and immediately saw Leipzig, who was raising his head and filling his mouth with beer. The person who handed over the drink was not from Leipzig. The girl with long silver hair was bending over and putting her hands on the back of the chair. Her arm that handed out the beer had not yet been retracted. It was the light cruiser Karlsruhe with a crazy look on his face. Number. Behind Karlsruhe, her older sister, Königsberg, with short purple hair, and Cologne, with long brown wavy hair, stood side by side. Bismarck pulled the tab and took a sip of beer. She still clearly remembered the day when the three Cornish sisters came back. Not a short time has passed, but the memory is still clear, mainly because something unpleasant happened that day. The Admiral left with counterattack, Royal Oak, and Missouri. To be honest, he had thought of accompanying them beforehand. Hood is nothing, he is just a defeated general, there is no need to care at all. But it didn't work after all. Thinking about it, Royal Oak must go together. After all, she was familiar with it. Fighting back, he wants to see his sister, and the Prince of Wales strongly supports him. Missouri's main mission is to collect intelligence. I really didn't have a good reason in the past. Anyone could be a bodyguard, not even Richelieu and Washington's reasons. But I still remember that Saratoga had a deep resentment towards Missouri, complaining like Missouri is a vixen, I didn't expect it, a hypocritical woman, I have already seen through her and don't want the ring. But from a need perspective, even if she didn't go to Missouri, it wouldn't be her turn to go to Saratoga. In the end, she seemed to have received some promise, and then she slowly restrained herself. Children who cry are fed by milk, but it's a pity that they can't cry. They can't do it, and there's no need. The Admiral is no longer in the garrison, and the vitality of the entire garrison is much less. Without the Admiral by his side, after all, something is missing. Saratoga often walked around casually in her pajamas and slippers, and South Dakota rarely saw her riding a car around the townhouse. Some people went on a trip. Admiral Hipper and Blucher also went back to the former military police station for a few days. Xianghe and Ziwihe said they wanted to visit Kyoto. The garrison is still operating in an orderly manner, launching attacks to suppress the deep-sea shipgirls and protect the safety of a certain sea area. Cooperate with some companies and participate in expeditions to obtain money or resources to subsidize the garrison. People who live in leisure have nothing to do every day. Those who are restless can always find something to do in teaching, practicing, training. As for the situation that day, the Enterprise suddenly came over and said that a powerful deep-sea ship girl appeared at sea and was temporarily without manpower. Then she asked everyone to attack, and there happened to be a bonus for the mission. Many people passed by, and even the deep-sea flagship was able to suppress them. This was a piece of cake. In the end, some people went directly back to the garrison, and only themselves and Lexington attended the dinner and celebration banquet. There were many people at the banquet, such as government officials, admirals, and businessmen, and then something unexpected happened. I was enjoying the delicious food, but a fat-bellied businessman came over and said, "You people are so strong, you shouldn't stay in the garrison. If you still have some conscience, you should go to various cities to protect the safety of large sea areas and the safety of shipping routes." Then Lexington said, "Speaking of which, there is currently a speculation in the world that polluting the environment and polluting the sea will lead to crazy revenge from the deep-sea ship girls." Nonsense. I heard that you run a polluting company on the coast and are very rich. Since you are so rich, you should give some to every poor person, so that everyone can live a well-off life. I earned all my money, why should I give it to you? We are also the Admiral's ship girls and belong to the Admiral alone. There was a quarrel later, when Lexington smiled and poured the wine on top, and then he also wanted to get in. For example, pressing someone's head on the table, or kicking two security guards away. Afterwards, the Enterprise came over to apologize, and she said she did not expect to encounter such a situation. Then on the way back, he asked, "Admiral usually socializes outside, how often do you encounter this kind of situation?" "Yes, there is never a shortage of such people." "Admiral, well, it is not easy to be able to withstand pressure. But as a human being, he is easier to talk to than us when encountering this kind of situation. So he doesn't want to participate in these social interactions at all and stays with us. Just stay by the Admiral's side and attack when needed. Are we causing trouble for him like this?" There was no trouble, the company solved all the problems, and that was a story for another day. Anyway, when I returned to the town hall that night, I saw my sisters from the town hall who were also from the German ancestry. The past has finally passed. The noisy little Lolita voices in the distance came over. Bismarck held the can with both hands and asked casually, "I have been back for many days. How are you living in the governor's mansion? Are you getting used to it?" Karlsruhe said, "It's pretty good. The garrison is not very big." Bismarck looked around. "That's enough." Cologne lamented, "It's a pity that when we came back, the Admiral had already left. You have to do it earlier. Basic, food, housing, and transportation. The Genshu mansion is very close to Chuangziu. It's very convenient to go there. You can buy everything there. Yuxian's craftsmanship is really good. Just tell her and you can cook anything. The single room is equipped, so there's nothing to worry about. You can go to the library, KTV, coffee shop, everything is available." Cologne thought for a moment and then said distressedly, "It's a pity that there are no spare rooms next to the Admiral's room, and there are no rooms on that floor." Königsberg changed his standing posture, crossed his chest with one hand, and held his face with the other. He suddenly raised his eyebrows and said, "You can stay in the same room with him." Definitely not. Colin knew very well that he was not a wedding ship, and even a wedding ship was not good. "Actually, you can go to the Admiral's room now and sleep with his quilt rolled up. That quilt must be full of his breath, and you can enjoy it. When the Admiral comes back, the quilt will be full of your breath again, which is just right." Colin snapped his fingers, "That's a good idea. That's what we'll do tonight." Leipzig had finished drinking the beer, flattened the can and threw it into the trash can far away, hitting the target. After staying in the governor's mansion for so long, she can be said to be an old-timer. She smiled and said, "The quilt is full of the atmosphere of a big sister. There must be some, there are a lot of bed sheets, but it won't be good if you take them out." Bismarck didn't know how to joke with others, so she squinted her eyes and looked at Leipzig. The blonde girl suddenly trembled and quickly showed weakness. "I was wrong." Bismarck was not in the mood to joke. She knew very well that several people respected her, but she was not interested in chatting with her. She asked, "What are you doing here?" "Nothing. After saying this, Cologne looked at Karlsruhe and said softly, "Second sister." The furious girl Karlsruhe stood up from her chair and spread her hands. "Don't call me, eldest sister is over there." Cologne pushed Königsberg, who was standing next to him, and deliberately made a sweet sound. "Sister." Königsberg also made a helpless move. Leipzig spoke before Cologne looked at him. "Don't look at me, I dare not say anything." Bismarck stared at a few people without saying anything. Cologne hesitated for a moment and said with a smile, "Sister Bismarck." "What happened?" Karlsruhe said, "You know, Cologne is the governor." Bismarck tilted his head. It was also a German ship, so he would pay more or less attention to it. She knew this very well, so she responded, "Huh. I want to see the admiral's photo." Bismarck said, "When you come back, you doubt that the admiral has already shown you the photos. If you want to see them again, there is no way to contact me. They are all in Leipzig. She is the only one who has a camera and can develop photos. You should ask her. Otherwise, go to Saratoga, she should have something that Leipzig doesn't have. It's not about those, I want to see those, photos taken secretly in Leipzig and confiscated by you." Cologne clasped his hands together. "Don't worry, we will return it to you immediately after reading it, and we will never spread it randomly." Bismarck said, "Burn it?" "No, eldest sister, please. No." After all, Bismarck refused to give it, so they had no choice but to leave. Walking in the corridor back to the dormitory, Cologne said in frustration, "Burn it." Leipzig chuckled, "It will definitely not be burned." Bismarck, she is pretty cool. Königsberg looked towards the dormitory building, his eyes resting on a window. "Look for Bizai, just fool around. She should know where it is. They have absolutely no respect for Bazai, a battleship that can be bullied." Someone came from Leipzig, and she said, "Instead of looking for the North House, it's better to look for the small house." Colin trusted his partner, then Zayazai. Leipzig stopped and said, "It's not okay for you to go to Zayazai like this. Zayazai has learned well. She won't help you without gifts. Doll. Toy. Comics." Lowering his head, raising his head, thinking hard, and finally crossing his arms, Leipzig said, "Her room is full of these things. She can act like a spoiled child again, and the admiral buys her a lot every time he goes out. You haven't seen it before, and here we are in Missouri again. She always buys it for Xiaozai. For chocolates or snacks, go to Emden." "Where is Emden?" "She was called to the cafe by Atlanta." "Then let's go." The three Leipzig and Königsberg sisters moved away. Here, Bismarck withdrew his gaze and turned to the little Lolita in the distance again, where Z was driving. Looking for the Lost Ship Girl. Author, Hai De Rong Yan. Chapter 608. It was afternoon, and the sunlight in the classroom was divided into squares by the window frames and reflected on the ground. Da-da-da. The tips of his high heels hit the terrazzo floor as Zeppelin walked around the podium, holding a pointer in his hand. In fact, she didn't want to teach the little Lolita. She always felt that she had no authority and couldn't stand up, and the little Loli still didn't realize it, which made it difficult for people to handle. Just like when she first met Akagi and was defeated, and respected Akagi as her senior, she has always respected Zeppelin, who was stronger than herself. However, when the person who defeated him became a destroyer primary school student and did not have the advantage of the ship type like submarines and gun submarines, then the development became weird. I first came to the tutelage as an instructor, but Lexington was in charge of the operations of the tutelary, so he didn't need to intervene. Even just talking about the admiral himself, there is no problem at all in handling all matters in the garrison. I had nothing to do, so I wanted to find something to do and not be a worm like Bazai, so I started giving lessons. The pointer was put away, swish swish, writing on the blackboard, and a long list of formulas was left on the blackboard. Zeppelin's eyes fell on the second to last row by the window, and he said in a deep voice, "Listen carefully. The little Lolita under the podium are all disobedient, especially Xiaozai." At least he restrained himself a bit, paused, and said, "Who knows how to solve this chicken and rabbit in the same cage using a linear equation of two variables?" It was so quiet under the podium that you could hear a pin drop. This was an illusion. In fact, there was quite a lot of whispering. Firefly was talking to Hickson, and Amethyst Quartz, who was in the middle class, giggled without knowing what she was thinking. Xiaozai held her side face with one hand and looked out the window, talking to Sungxiang sitting behind her, who was usually obedient. Submarine U-81 is bending over to find his dog, little wolf. There are just ordinary math questions on the blackboard. This is also a cultural class. This kind of course is often not taken seriously, and teaching these Zeppelins is forced to do nothing. Obviously there is a lot to be taught in the academy, and the academy can explain to newcomers the rules that need to be followed as an admiral, the political structure of the world, etc. It can teach aircraft carriers and light carriers how to operate carrier-based aircraft. She can also teach how to launch torpedoes to accurately hit the target. Even if she cannot launch torpedoes, she still understands a lot about the theory. However, when I came to the town hall, it was not necessary for little Lolita to teach the world structure. There were no adults to listen to the lectures. It was just fine as a source of conversation. As for teaching carrier-based aircraft, the huge garrison is only more powerful than York City and Hornet. Longxiang is one of them, but that little girl is too troublesome. She likes to call herself we and thinks she is perfect even though she is not strong enough. It reminds me of Saratoga again and feels like there is a shadow. I thought she was just an ordinary girl, but her grades were said to be very poor. So I wanted to find a sense of existence, and then I realized that I was just poor in cultural classes. As an aircraft carrier, its ability to control carrier-based aircraft is unparalleled. Even Akage can't compare to it, let alone himself. I wanted to teach her culture, but I was told back by saying, "I'm already married. I just need to know how to please my brother-in-law." What's the use of learning so much? Unexpectedly, Lexington also supported this view, and Bismarck also supported it. Now that you have a husband, nothing matters. With this point of view, let's mess around. As for teaching how to launch torpedoes, forget it. These little Lolita don't know how to theory, but their combat intuition is enough for them to become strong primary school students in destroyers. Firefly, Amethyst, Lawfight, Fantasy, Dawn Thunder, and Lightning, in short there are many. Firefly, in particular, is said to be capable of rocket headbutts, and has a small steel plate installed on his body. If he rides on Reliance, he won't be able to take a headbutt at all. The little girl in the audience didn't seem to hear her. Zeppelin felt her dignity was insulted, so she decided to call her name. "Utopia, you got up to answer the question, what are you doing with your head down all the time?" He likes to flop, especially lying on the ground in front of the admiral and not getting up until he is kissed or hugged. I saw it once. No one hugged her, so she kept lying on the ground. It was not until Xiaozai drew a human shape along her body with chalk, pinched her chin and said there was a murder, that she got up and chased her. Kong Xiang stood up, "I can't." Zeppelin wanted to have an attack, but he endured it and took a deep breath. "Lawfight, listen carefully in class, stop talking, and answer the questions." With short orange hair, this little girl is also difficult to handle. As a ship girl, I still like to speak with my fighting power. At the beginning of the exercise, you can also educate him. When he was injured, he shouted that Lawfight was about to start serious. He immediately entered the mad dog mode, showing his super dodge ability and becoming like a metaphysics. However, Lawfight stood up, "Neither can I." Zeppelin looked around the classroom. Sigby's, the little fairy, didn't like to study. His favorite question was, "Teacher Zeppelin, please teach me how to put on makeup and how to seduce men." Thatcher didn't want to talk about it at all. She was a complete idiot. She didn't study in class and only slept. She was not afraid of anything. The black-backed jackal has a puppy-like personality. Sullivan is a really good kid. I can't afford to offend a small house. Looking around, he finally found someone raising his hand. Zeppelin said, "Z16, you answer." When he came to the garrison, Zeppelin sometimes really couldn't understand it, and felt that his outlook on things was completely shattered. Lexington, Saratoga, Bismarck, Akagia, what the heck? How could there be so many people and such a strong garrison? They must have taken away all the powerful ship girls in the world. It was already very powerful at the beginning, and people kept coming back, and their strength expanded to the point where they were smashing wildly and exaggeratedly. The return of the former companions is not counted, and the process of salvaging the boat is also fake, Lan, Cushing, and Missouri. And he left some time ago, saying that he wanted to find his former companions, and then he also wanted to fish for Hindenburg along the way. Why don't you go to heaven? You are just messing around. Let's not think about that, which is sad. Many German ships have returned recently, including many destroyers. These German ships are much more sensible and make people feel close to them. Z1 and Z16 are girls, and girls have good personalities. Z17 and Z18 can be said to be naughty, but within the range. Z21 works hard without complaining. Then Z24 and Z28, the two silver-haired little Lolita, don't like to talk. Z24 seems to be sleep-deprived, and Z28 is quiet. Anyway, as long as they are not naughty, they are fine. Z31 is also well-behaved. Many of them are girls. Why are they taking classes together? The main reason is that the girls cannot be treated as ordinary people. After all, many people have lived for many years without changing their appearance. In this way, a situation arises. It seems that girls in senior grades can take classes together with young girls in kindergarten or preschool as long as the gap is not too big. Of course, if you can't keep up with the progress, you still have to start small. If you understand everything, you don't need to go to class. Zeppelin called his name, and Z16 stood up and went through the process of solving the problem. There are 15 rabbits and 27 chickens. Thinking that the answer was correct, before Zeppelin nodded, Amethyst's voice sounded, "Z16, you are wrong." Amethyst was serious, Z16 was a little confused, and Zeppelin asked, "What's wrong?" "Rabbits use heads as units, and chickens use pieces as units." Taking a deep breath, Zeppelin took the chalk and threw it at Amethyst Quartz, and then said softly to Z16, "That's absolutely right. Sit down." Despite the difficulties, Zeppelin finally finished the class. During the break, she stood in the corridor and looked at the sea in the distance. "I heard from Sister Bismarck that Count Zeppelin used to be an instructor in the college." Zeppelin looked back and saw Z16. The girl had short blonde hair and was as cute as she could be. "I still remember that in the home economics class a few days ago, the girl was wearing a chef's hat and a chef's uniform and was working hard to cook. Beer, grilled sausages, and white bread are really something I miss, but I was surprised to find that the smiling girl was actually a foodie. Foodies are all cute, like Akagia, like Z16. Zeppelin smiled, "Yes, I am already an instructor in the academy. It's awesome." No. Zeppelin has learned to be humble, very humble. Mainly after seeing the governor's house facing off against the Abyssal fleet and humiliating Abyssal Yamato, and discovering that the Little Maid's counterattack was also a hidden master, and the strength of the mansion, the North Mansion, and Tirpitz were incomprehensible. "Back." Z16 said, Sister Bismarck said that the construction of the garrison was all thanks to you. It did provide a little help, but Zeppelin believed that this was not necessary. With or without herself, the difference would not be too big. She said, "No, I just did a small job." Sister Lexington also said that you are very powerful and know everything. I think you are very powerful too. Z16 opened his hands to the sky, astronomy, geography, science, mathematics, politics, and Z16 couldn't say anything, and Zeppelin said with a smile, "There is also history." Right. Zeppelin thought for a while and said, "Like you, everyone calls you Z16, but I know that you are also called Friedrich Eckert. But now that you have become a girl, shouldn't you be called Z16, is Frederica better?" Z16's eyes suddenly lit up and he almost jumped. At this time, many people gathered around. Zeppelin saw the girl with long brown hair tied into a ponytail. She put her finger to her lips and said, "Z1, everyone's sister, you should actually be called Lebrecht Moss." Then turning to the slim little Lolita with beautiful long pink hair, wearing a skirt and black stockings, Zeppelin said, "Z17, number 1 ship of the 1936 model, Dieter von Roeder." She had short yellow hair hanging on her shoulders. She had many similarities to Z17. Zeppelin said, "Z18, Hans Ludemann." The little girl with short green hair looked younger than everyone else. Zeppelin snorted softly, "Z21, William Heidkamp." Xiao Zai has been listening by the side, looking at everyone's surprised expressions. It turns out that everyone also has a name, which is really amazing. She quickly reached out and pulled out the sleepy silver-haired little Loli, "Z24, what is her name?" Zeppelin hesitated for a moment, then Zai pulled out the little Lolita with round eyes, "Z28, where is she?" Finally, she pulled out her blonde twin tails. She was a schoolboy trader who was somewhere between a girl and a Lolita. This was a Z driver that had grown up, but she looked younger than Z1 and Z16, "Z31, what's her name?" After waiting for a moment and not hearing Zeppelin's answer, Zai sighed, "Ha, you can't say it anymore." Zeppelin smiled. She was an instructor in the college and had been awake for a long time. If Jean Wien did not serve as the dean, she could even take over the position of dean if she was still in the college. In the history of the Old World, the 1936 A-type destroyer was also called the Narvik type destroyer. Soon the Narvik type destroyer became the general name for the destroyers built by Germany in World War II, and since then, the type after the ships. German destroyers no longer have ship names but only ship numbers. It's not that I can't name Z24, Z28, and Z31, it's just that they only have ship numbers. Zeppelin knew a lot of things. She knew why the ships were only called Z drivers in the world today. On the one hand, their names were too long, and it was also for the purpose of unification. Otherwise, some people have names and some don't, and obsessive-compulsive disorder will occur. Amazing. Teacher Zeppelin is so handsome. Like you. No wonder Z Driver became so excited, it just didn't have a name. Although it has a name, everyone always just calls it the ship number, and they don't even know that they have a name. The eldest sister Bismarck doesn't understand this at all, Sister Bizai doesn't know it at all, and the 3 Königsberg-level sisters, who are like bad guys and like to tease people the most, don't know either. Suddenly there is a person who is particularly powerful, super mature, and an aircraft carrier. He can call everyone by name. This sense of recognition is indescribable. Zeppelin, meanwhile, was delighted to hear the praise. As an instructor in the academy, I was very proud of myself, but when I came to the garrison, I never felt respected at all. At this time, I finally felt it. I felt respect, praise, admiration, and admiration. As an instructor and teacher, I don't ask for salary. These are the most important things. However, just a moment later, An accident occurred. Zeppelin only heard Z16 say excitedly, "Teacher Zeppelin, can I also call you Auntie Zeppelin like a small house?" Suddenly, Zeppelin opened his mouth slightly, not knowing how to answer. Although I was in college before and knew that those students said that I was a sexy mature woman and usually dressed in this style, but being called Auntie made me uncomfortable. She looked at Kozaku, who was wearing a hoodie. She had left Chuangziu Academy and met her first when she came to the town hall. She thought she was a destroyer, so when she ran up to talk to him, she never expected that she was a young version of a battleship. The powerful momentum after unfolding the ship suit made people feel frightened, and it was clear that they could not survive a single shot. Of course it was impossible to start a fight, but she was called Aunt, which was the beginning of a nightmare. Zeppelin wanted to say, "Please, please call me sister." Although she looks mature, she is not married yet. Although I don't like it, why don't I just ask the Admiral for a ring and become a wife, and it shouldn't matter if I'm called Aunt again. No, after getting the ring, Lexington is still called sister, and Bismarck is also called sister. Only she. Although the destroyers are so cute, they are all German Z drivers. I like it very much. Why does it become like this? That sentence is indeed very appropriate. Life is like a coffee table, filled with cups and tableware. Tirpitz, Xiaozai, it's all you who want to hit someone. Looking for the Lost Ship Girl. Author, Hai-De Rong Yan. Chapter 609. Not to mention Zeppelin, it felt like he was in a dream. In the past, the little Lolita surrounded the Admiral and listened to random stories, but now he finally had Z driver surrounding him. In the coffee shop, York City, Hornet, and Northampton were playing cards, and the three-person team was just right. Two equally matched opponents, and a gentle and weak Northampton who is willing to be a green foil. Wichita and a group of people didn't know what to play with, and her face was covered with notes. Compared to the Prince of Wales and Helena, the girl likes to show off everywhere, as if she is afraid that others will not know her wealth. In addition, I have worked as a model and am familiar with how to highlight my figure, which has attracted crazy revenge from a circle of people. And I also care that if I am not jealous of others, I am mediocre. Sitting by the window, smelling the fragrance of flowers coming from the window, Saratoga held a large glass of juice. She looked around and said, "It's so boring." "Oh." The feeble voice came from the pink-haired woman sitting next to her with her legs curled up. Bizai was reading comics, and it was just the critical moment. To be honest, it was a critical moment for her anyway, when she was holding the comics and couldn't hear anyone talking. Naturally, Saratoga saw Bizai's state and was very dissatisfied. She couldn't stand Bizai's always slow and indifferent answers. She reached out to snatch the comic book and closed it. When Bizai went to grab it, she put the comic under her butt and said, "I told you, it's so boring." Bizai became exhausted and shook her head, "I'm so bored too. Let's do something. I want to go to Sichuan show." "Go to Sichuan show?" "I have no money and don't want to go." Saratoga has never had money. In fact, most people in the garrison don't care whether they have money or not. Anyway, if you need it, just apply, and you won't be rejected easily. Bizai replied, "I want to buy books." Saratoga showed a disdainful expression, "If you don't learn well, you want to hang up and beat your sister Bismarck again, like killing a pig." Bizai leaned back on the sofa indifferently. She was not afraid of boiling water anyway, and her skin was very thick. She didn't care no matter how much he was ridiculed. "So boring," Saratoga said again, and now Bizai completely understood someone's thoughts. She stretched out her hands to hug her legs, rested her chin on her knees, and her medium-length pink hair hung down from the side of her face. "I want to, Admiral." Satisfied, Saratoga stretched out his hands, as if he wanted to stretch his body. Halfway through the movement, his body slowly fell to the side, I miss my brother-in-law too. She thought about her old life, sleeping with most of her sisters by her side every night. Sometimes I'm not around, but every time I wake up in the morning, my sister is definitely by the dressing table in the room. Get up at this time and go find your brother-in-law. My brother-in-law may not be pregnant yet, so I can be gentle with him, which is so happy. We had breakfast together at noon, then slept on the sofa in the office, watching my sister walking around looking for information, watching my brother-in-law at work. Everything was gone. Facing the window and looking at his slender fingers, Saratoga suddenly said, "Bazai, do you think Missouri is a scheming bitch?" To be honest, Bazai didn't have much impression of Missouri at all. Her life consisted mostly of sleeping and cartooning every day. Now that I'm in the mood, I draw 2 drafts by myself. Otherwise, if you just sit back and wait, as the natural enemy of the small house, if you find the prey accidentally passing by, you will reach out and hold it as a toy and ravage it fiercely. On a whim, I chatted with the Admiral, and inexplicably found that I wanted the Admiral to give me a hug. Probably so, Bazai replied. Saratoga was unreasonable, and her resentment towards Missouri was obviously very great, saying, seeing that she was lonely and helpless outside, my sister kindly invited her to join the garrison. If she didn't do anything, she would fight every day, and she would talk to her brother-in-law all day long. Is her brother-in-law also something she can touch? Bazai chuckled, if a fly doesn't bite the seamless egg, it won't make a sound with a slap. Saratoga was unhappy. She sat up and patted Bazai's thigh with her hand, raising her eyebrows. Does it make any noise? Bazai felt aggrieved and said, seeing. You call this the presumption of guilt? Any fly will bite any egg. And the eggs with cracks are also my eggs, so you can't bite them. Saratoga snorted angrily. What does this mean? You're kind-hearted in helping a homeless girl. There's no such thing. It's simply unreasonable to think that a homeless woman would actually want to seduce the male master and take over. I don't think it matters. Bazai looked at it openly. Deo differences do not agree with each other. Saratoga ignores Bazai, feeling that if this continues, he will definitely be angry to death. Finally thinking of something, she showed off, when my brother-in-law comes back, I'm going to go on a date with him. Xiaozai will definitely follow. What are you going to do on the adult's date? Saratoga had already thought of this. I have already made an agreement with my brother-in-law. We agreed that there will only be 2 people. No one can have more unless I allow it. Bazai asked curiously, I want to go too, can I? The boat of friendship capsized like this. It is better to say that as long as the brother-in-law is involved, there is water in the north of Kunlun. Its power cannot beat mustard, so it is called weak water, and the shipwreck is obvious. Saratoga was unceremonious. No, don't even think about it. Well, Bazai became a little angry for a while. Saratoga silently calculated in her heart, after being gone for so long, my brother-in-law should be back soon. After taking away his comics, bullying others, and not saying nice things, Bazai decided to take revenge. It's been a long time coming. I'll be back in a week at most. Where should I be now? Not so fast, you want more. At least halfway there. Bazai ruffled his hair and smoothed it down little by little. I don't think so. Saratoga puffed up, at least we're on our way. Bazai nodded. Even if you are angry, this is necessary. She also misses the Admiral very much, otherwise she would have no one to discuss comics with. She also likes to sleep on the Admiral's lap pillow, and it's great to sleep with her arms around him at night. Looking around, Saratoga could no longer see his enemies, but suddenly said, Ruhi and her sister went to Kyoto. The sisters all like my brother-in-law, but unfortunately they can't compare to my sister and me. Xiang he can't compare to my sister, and Ziwa he can't compare to me. I don't know if I feel ashamed, so I took advantage of my brother-in-law's absence to avoid being unable to make up my mind and leave. Bazai did not refute, maybe. Saratoga actually knew the reason. As more and more people returned to the garrison, the number of Japanese ships was scarce. Anyway, the admiral was not in the town hall, so he went out to look for him. Akagi likes to be quiet, otherwise he will eat and eat all day long, and there will rarely be any leftovers in the garrison. Kaga drank wine every day, but unlike the Prince of Wales who held up the glass and sipped it slowly, she drank heavily and was drunk all day long. Tianlong and Long Tian need to take care of little Loli every day, and it is difficult to spare time. As for why the 4-level reinforcement sisters and Fei Falcon didn't go out, that's not clear. Anyway, Xianghe and Ziwei went out. Come to think of it, they actually had plans to travel. Speaking of which, Kaga didn't know about the tutelage until he returned to the academy. Shokaku Ziwikaku went to Akagi and met Chi Berlin. Fei Yingying was because of Kaga, and the support sisters were because of Tianlong and Ryuada. Many people got the news and took the initiative to return to the guard. They are the only ones who did not do anything. They should all be in the east and know more about it, but no one knows about it. It feels like none of them care about world affairs. We suppressed the deep-sea Yamato and also suppressed 3 ships. Deep-sea flagship. Saratoga doesn't have a good impression of the Japanese ships. They seem to live in their own world and are indifferent to the outside world. They especially like to write scripts and want people to act according to their scripts. Haha, Akagi is the same, treating his sister as an enemy. My sister doesn't care about her at all. Bizai thought silently, I believe it. They don't know. In contrast, you see, Royal Oak knows the news so far to the west. Without saying a word, Saratoga suddenly lost interest in slandering the Japanese ship. She said, Royal Oak said that everyone was on a mission, and she was the only one in the company. She wanted to come over immediately to confirm. She should wait more, just wait for a while, and then wait for everyone to come back together, so that my brother-in-law doesn't have to travel thousands of miles. Bizai said, I'm probably worried that it's fake. Hey, how could it be fake? We published the photos in the newspapers that were published later. Who knows Saratoga is Saratoga? Saratoga puffed up her chest. Her capital was equally strong, but she usually hid it and just put on a Lolita breast-wrapped skirt, which Saratoga has as good a figure as Saratoga like me. To brag. Saratoga didn't care, she said, the brother-in-law's photo has also been published, they must know each other, is it fake? Bazai was completely unconscious, you didn't think about it that much, Royal Oak's confused dead otaku. Saratoga pinched the flesh on Bazai's body, and was very unhappy with this best friend, good friend, and best friend who secretly took advantage of her brother-in-law. You are also a dead otaku. Fat house, dead house, lazy house, I have someone to support me anyway. Bizai didn't care at all. Saratoga wanted to order another glass of juice. She looked toward the counter and then down the hallway. Bizai, look dash. Bizai turned his head and saw Atlanta. He could faintly hear the girl's voice, we are going to expand our business. Is this a gravity wall, a shear wall, or a load-bearing wall? What's Atlanta doing? Saratoga pushed the north house and said, I want you to look outside. Bizai looked over and saw Emden standing there. She had returned to the townhouse with the 3 Königsberg sisters and Z driver. Because of her weakness and honesty, she was immediately recruited by Atlanta as a clerk. Saratoga laughed, look at Emden being surrounded by the 3 Königsberg sisters. It looks like he is surrounded by gangsters. Little girl, play with the uncle for a while. Leipzig just happened to be standing there, as if watching the wind. Someone is coming, and the wind is blowing. When Bizai saw this scene, he thought of a lot of material. The admiral was blocked in a corner and shivering, while a large group of people were gearing up. Where can you go to let your sisters have fun? Saratoga was laughing happily when she saw Emden's long blonde hair tied into a ponytail, wearing glasses, black silk stockings, and an apron over a thin knitted sweater. Her smile suddenly faded. Emden Den's body is quite obscene. I think of her working in the cafe for many days. I heard Atlanta muttering that Emden is not as useful as Kent and is worse than her sister Santiago. I think it is not as good as Santiago with her shameful teardrop-shaped breasts. It makes people wonder, should I open a coffee shop or a custom shop? Raider, Rabbit, and Kent are also small. In my mind, I think of the vixen number 9, the coquettish number 7, and the weak Kent brother-in-law who like to bully the most, so don't take a peek. Wanting to criticize, Saratoga laughed again. Poor cat-eared sisters, Flatbed Airport. No matter how you look at the slender blue-haired girl named Atlanta, she has nothing to do with the word Yaliang. If I have to talk about the cute parts, the most cute ones are the small dimples, the small tiger teeth, the small breasts, etc. Bazi didn't know how to read the atmosphere. She said, the cat ears and tail are very cute. I want to pull them. What's the point of the cat? Cat-eared girl and little tail, aren't they interesting enough? Saratoga was silent for a moment, and then saw Emden squatting down on the counter. What is she doing? That's the best chocolate, limited to each person per day, given to Cologne. Saratoga was thoughtful. She finally understood these days and said, Colon should bribe someone to get information about the Admiral. The atmosphere in our garrison is going to be ruined. They actually attack married men. It's so difficult to do. Emden is so cute, Cologne is also a supervisor and a love brain, and Saratoga is a little entangled. Bazi, you said. We chatted in the cafe with nothing to do, and after dinner in the evening we were ready to go back to our room. Walking along the corridor, I took a look at every room with open doors. The attacker wrapped his arms around the pillow and rolled around on the bed with his legs around the pillow. Hey, don't have any thoughts about your brother-in-law. Bismarck was sitting by the bed, Kotaku was lying on the floor like a dead man, and Prince Eugen was squatting next to him, pushing Kotaku with his hands. Then the three sisters from Leipzig and Königsberg all lowered their heads, as if they were repenting. What are these people doing? Quietly, does Helena rub her breasts while reading? Back in the room, Saratoga saw her sister Lexington posing in various poses in front of the floor-length mirror. Sister, what are you doing? Lexington immediately returned to his normal state and smiled, it's nothing. Saratoga sat on the edge of the bed and kicked her legs. I discovered today that Emden is quite cute, weak, and clumsy. And Cologne, she has been asking people about what her brother-in-law likes. She definitely wants it. Take action against your brother-in-law. Yeah, Lexington responded, not caring at all. In fact, he was worried. Saratoga asked, Sister, aren't you worried? Nothing to worry about. Opponent, be careful that my brother-in-law doesn't like you. Saratoga laughed and said, you are posing, don't you want to seduce your brother-in-law? You are very beautiful, my sister is the most beautiful. Lexington looked out the window and sighed. I thought to myself, Gaga, your level is too low and you are still obsessed with Emden and Cologne. I have no choice but to have a feeling that in the higher scenery, there are more wolves and tigers. Missouri, the reputation of the strongest made. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Looking for the Lost Ship Girl. Author, Hai De Rong Yan. Chapter 610. Hindenburg was wearing a loose vest and sitting cross-legged on the bed. On the bed directly opposite her, Missouri, with a lazy expression, was lying on the bed holding a pillow. The raised buttocks, the slender and sexy legs under hot pants, the long and messy hair, in short, the posture is alluring. Sugu glanced twice and saw Missouri's teasing eyes. He shamelessly leaned against the cabin window and focused his gaze. When it comes to Germany and the Third Reich, the first thing people think of is the Nazis, the swastika flag, and Hitler. As a defeated country in the First World War, Germany implemented the First Republic in the Weimar Constitution, but there were rotting corpses on the road and hungry people in the fields. Troubled people and corrupt politics are often caused by the extreme left and extreme leftists. The world of rightists. I have provoked 2 world wars and lost them. If I have to say it, I just want to say that we should never ally with Italy. Hindenburg noticed something keenly and said, I suddenly discovered a problem. Sugu said concisely, what? He holds his chest with his left hand. In terms of body shape, Hindenburg's figure is still very good. Because he is so rich, it should be accurately held under his chest. She clenched her right hand into a fist and put it under her nose, as if thinking, she said doubtfully, no matter who you are, no matter what, you all like to say Italy is stupid. No, Italy is not. Sugu paused. It was difficult for a person to be fair, impartial, and objective when speaking. There was always a lot of personal information mixed in. He has no interest in summoning souls for the Third Reich, and he has no favorable or unfavorable impressions of German soldiers. He is really too far away from his own country. In contrast, he still prefers those who are arrogant and stupid. They are a group of unreliable guys who are very good at being cute and good at taking sides. He said, they are arrogant and stupid. This is called political correctness. Hindenburg is obviously not that cultured. What is political correctness? Political correctness, well, do you know who was the most invincible in the old world? Hindenburg didn't have so many ideas: soldier, wealthy businessman, high official. At least before Sugu came over, the battleship Missouri was still functioning as a battleship memorial. Things aside, as a ship girl who inherited the soul of the battleship Missouri, Missouri knows a lot. She closed her eyes, put her hands through her thick brown hair and scratched it, saying, Black lives matter, black people are the most powerful. Sugu shook his head towards Missouri. No, the old black woman wearing a little white hat and the white left virgin is still gay, so she can almost become invincible. Missouri said, the situation you mentioned is completely impossible. There is a conflict. Sugu also wanted to argue with Missouri. Something was wrong. Hindenburg couldn't listen, so she said, don't say anything I don't understand. Sugudeo, political correctness ignores objective facts and caters to mainstream values, morals, and public opinion guidance. No, it is a fact that intending to gain profit is unreliable. It is not political correctness to intend to gain profit by doing evil. Hindenburg put his face in his hands and became frustrated, saying, it's better not to talk about political correctness. It's meaningless. Where to start? I won't talk about the army. You are ship girls, so let's talk about the navy. As an admiral, there is nothing more important than salvaging the ship. At present, Hindenburg has not joined the garrison. You can choose gentleness, which is especially useful for little Lolita and girls, they like it. Being able to let the ship girl see your strong side often gives the ship girl a feeling that having such an admiral by her side is really reliable. For example, many admirals with military backgrounds are serious, rigid, and meticulous. They are cruel to others and even more cruel to themselves. They can win the favor of many ship girls with military personalities. Sugu couldn't be a military person, he was just as gentle as a gentle person. It's just that for a battleship like the Hindenburg, it prefers strong power to gentleness. There are so many kinds of power, such as strong strength, firm will, and profound knowledge. As a German ship, I think I would be very curious about the history of Germany in the Old World. It was a rare opportunity, and Sugu didn't mind showing off, but it didn't seem to be of much use to Hindenburg. Until he cleared out the little inventory in his mind, Hindenburg nodded without any expression, which made people feel a little confused. Distressed. Missouri is usually not serious, but is quite reliable at critical moments. She said, "Our admiral is very powerful, right?" Hindenburg said, "Your admiral is quite powerful. It's unclear whether it's because the garrison is a good ship girl, or it's just to be bullied in the future." Missouri said, "As a battleship, you need a captain, and as a ship girl, you need a commander, general, and admiral." Hindenburg was uneducated, and that's what we uneducated people are like, or as Missouri said, it's about beating but not eating. She said, "I think it's more or less the same with or without an admiral. As an admiral, your butt determines your head." Sugu said with a serious expression, "Hindenburg, do you know about the Dark Ages?" Missouri was very familiar with Hindenburg. She said, "Hindenburg woke up after the Dark Ages. Then you can't expect her to read." "I first heard Eugene say it, and heard it many times in the academy, and it was still a mandatory question." Without thinking too much, Sugu Shen said, "Before the establishment of the ship girl headquarters, there were some years when people used ship girl unscrupulously. When deep-sea ship girls appear, ship girls will go out if possible. However, some missions are very dangerous and will probably sink. Of course, ship girls don't want to go out. In order to let them go out, some governments like to take advantage of their kindness. The article makes threats. For example, let the poor children kneel on the beach, and then make a big propaganda about how pitiful everyone is and how hateful the deep-sea ship girls are. Once they appear, their hometown will be destroyed. When encountering this kind of thing, ship girls often can't stand it, so only a human admiral can cold-bloodedly refuse. Missouri cooperates, a ship girl must have an admiral." Hindenburg said, "When you said that, I thought about it. You humans hurt us first and then protected us. Do we still have to be grateful?" Sugu suddenly didn't know how to answer. Thinking about it, Hindenburg's words seemed quite reasonable and not stupid at all. After thinking for a moment, he said, "Even if they are all human beings, there are good people and bad people, don't lump them together, everyone is different from everyone else. Different countries in the human race fight against each other, and the number of people who die every year is compared to those who die at the hands of the deep-sea ship girls. There are so many more people." Hindenburg shook his head, "So I don't understand you humans at all." Missouri didn't know what she thought of, and she suddenly said, "Speaking of it, even in the Dark Ages, at most some people took advantage of the kindness of ship girls to make them attack, but there were no perverts who threatened ship girls to go to bed. This question is not mentioned in the textbooks. It is very boring to sit in the academy." As a new admiral, Sugu said, "The ship girl was born because of the history and memory of steel. Most of the crew members are men, and the ship girl is their ideal perfection women. For men, kindness and justice are of course the best. As a man, there is one bottom line. The last thing he wants is to see others touch his woman. Whether it is possessiveness or not, even if the world is destroyed, he cannot touch his woman. When encountering big trouble, generally speaking, even if a woman can save herself by going out to sleep with him, he doesn't want a woman to go out. Because of this, the ship girl also has this idea, and the bottom line cannot be touched. If you want to threaten the ship girl to go to bed, you will either be rejected, or your head will be smashed by the angry ship girl with a punch." Later, people discovered that they can take advantage of the ship girl's kindness achieves its own goals, but some aspects are completely forbidden. Fortunately, the dark era has finally passed. After saying that, Sugu thought to himself that even the ship girl who was guarding the mansion was not someone he could touch as an admiral. Being able to touch you means that my good feelings are already in place. The ship girl is not a mindless puppet who takes everything she wants. It's not that it has never happened before, people's hearts can change, and the admiral has changed, from a good guy to a bad guy. In this situation, the ship girl killed her own admiral, although in the end the ship girl also sank herself. It seems that she did not sink herself, but she became a deep-sea ship girl with shame, regret, anger, and resentment. There have been many incidents over the years, and now the assessment of admirals is becoming more and more stringent. It's distressing, or it shouldn't be distressing. If the admiral betrays or abandons the ship girl, then you have to be careful with your own head. Once on board, there is no chance to get off. Talking to Hindenburg, trying to gain favor, and then fishing for the ship are all small episodes in cruise life after all. For Sugu, he spent most of his time telling stories to little Lolita and talking to his ship girl. Occasionally, you can also listen to the performance of Unicorn, Belfast, and Royal Oak. I don't like the snare drum of the Legion. It is too noisy and reminds me of noisy robots. Finding that Hood would actually be jealous was something Sugu didn't expect. It was a sunny day, and Sugu was sitting by the bed reading a book, when Missouri walked into the cabin. "Sue, please lend me a book." Sugu never mind mocking Missouri, he said, "So I told you that I asked you to prepare spiritual food, but you said no. That's not because you don't give me entertainment." Sugu said angrily, "Okay, I will accompany you to have fun. What do you want to do?" "Have fun." Sugu sighed, and Missouri smiled and pulled up his collar. "I'm wearing a belly band underneath." "I don't like belly bands." "Who are you lying to? I see your eyes staring straight at Yuxian and Chungqing. Do you think I would fall into the trap by saying that I only watched Yuxian and not Chungqing?" Sugu said, "My upright admiral walks upright, sits upright, and never squints his eyes." Missouri said, "Come, Admiral, a gentleman, come and have some fun with me." The charming girl stretched out her hand, obviously like teasing a dog. Sugu raised his hand, picked up the book and hit Missouri on the head. "Let's go." Missouri left, with the pillow behind his back. Hood, who had brilliant blonde hair, leaned against the wall and said, "Seriously, the admiral should marry Missouri." Sugu heard such a resentful tone, so he explained, "Missouri and I have known each other for no more than half a year, and we are just friends. You said marriage is completely impossible. Missouri is purely for me. It's just to satisfy my collecting habit." The admiral's character affected the ship's wife, even though the dignified and elegant British noble lady who had learned to tease her. She said, "Admiral, do you think there is a pure friendship between men and women?" Sugu raised his eyebrows. "Yes." Hood looked at the ceiling. "The uglier the girl, the purer the friendship. Missouri is beautiful." Sugu said with a smile, "The younger the girl is, the purer the friendship. Everyone says that Lolita control, unless they are perverted, they will not do anything to little Lolita. At most, they can hug them, and at most they can kiss their faces. It doesn't matter if you're a little lowly, just raise her up. It's not okay for a 20-year-old husband and a 5-year-old wife. But for a 70-year-old husband and a 55-year-old wife, it doesn't seem to matter if you think about it. The older a girl is, the purer her friendship becomes. No, if you are beautiful, to a man, it doesn't matter even if you are 10,000 years old." Sugu paused, looked at Hood, and said sternly, "Who are you?" Hood showed a confused expression, and Sugu said, "My Hood is definitely not that powerful." This sentence made Hood a little happy, mainly because of the two words "my family" and "awesome." As a ship girl, she likes to possess the admiral. In fact, he also likes the admiral to declare his ownership, which is a different kind of liking. She said, "I just looked at the problem dialectically. Usually, I don't think you are very good at quarreling." Sugu recalled what he heard from the guardhouse, "If you are so powerful, why are you being bullied by Bismarck and Prince Eugen?" Mentioning Bismarck, Hood exhaled from his nostrils. "It's okay to discuss issues, why quarrel? When it comes to quarreling, rather than being reasonable, who is thick-skinned and who is stronger, Who has a louder voice and who is stronger? Hood, do you want me to teach you how to quarrel? In case you are bullied by Bismarck and Prince Eugen. Hood said matter-of-factly, Admiral, can't you protect me? I'm in a dilemma too, to be honest. The soft cat Bismarck is super cute, and Bazi. One side is stuffed with a cat Hood, and the other side is a beautiful sister. There is no need to compare. The small house is even more out of specification and will not be discussed. Sugu said, by the way, why do they usually bully you? Hood closed the book immediately, and the two of them slept together at home for so long, although the closer step had not happened yet. However, the two of them talked at night, occasionally chatting until very late, and got to know each other very well. I thought, you must have used your reputation to talk about stuffing cats and throwing them when they went out. Instead of being bullied by them, you were attacked first. She said, Admiral, please stop bullying me before they bully me. Sugu sneered. He had used this method many times, and it seemed that Hood was immune to it. He said casually, you run a company and go on missions. Have you been here before? I haven't been here before. Hood looked at the window. In fact, he couldn't see outside at all. This place should have been called the Mediterranean in the old world. It seems to be the same name now, but the map has changed a lot. Sugu said, speaking of which, last time you all went out, why didn't you take Royal Oak with you? You didn't take her with you, and then she was the only one who got the news about the town hall. After telling the good people, she returned to the townhouse alone. Huda said, we didn't expect her to be so courageous and leave alone. Why didn't we take her with us? There are many questions. First of all, she was in a daze and had bad luck. You can't blame her for luck. Hood was dissatisfied. She could tell clearly whether she was ranked last or second last. My luck is still better than that of Royal Oak. Really? Definitely better than the Royal Oak. Sugu looked righteous. In that case, let's ask Royal Oak to come over and let the three of us play cards. Let's see who has better luck, you or Royal Oak. If you lose, the punishment will be looking for the lost ship girl. Author, Hai De Rong Yan. Chapter 611. Sugu's luck has never been very good, and certainly not very bad. Luck itself is also a metaphysics. Even people with the best luck will fail and will be affected by many factors. For example, in the guarding palace, Suk Bader has the best luck. Every time the young girl fishes, she will gain a lot. Of course, she has luck, but she also has more skills. Sugu still remembered the young girl's promise that to catch a big fish, the submarine U-156 might be a little difficult, so the U-96 was also good, but there was no movement. Invite Hood and Royal Oak to play cards, and there will be a lot of onlookers as a bonus. After playing many rounds, it's hard to say whether the two players are too bad or just too unlucky. Hood's original purpose was to prove that his luck was better than that of Royal Oak, but there was no way to prove it at this time. The two of them were severely tortured by Sugu. I thought about many punishments, such as flicking my forehead, snapping my knuckles, and sticking stickers, but in the end I chose to drink water. For a ship girl, there is nothing wrong with drinking more water, but it may not make her feel better. Royal Oak is really not smart enough and is a confused otaku. After a long time, Hood realized something was wrong. He wanted to prove his luck by playing cards with Royal Oak alone, so he kicked Sugu away. He went out to buy snacks for everyone and returned to the cabin with the reputation of not minding playing with Sugu. She even said generously that if the master loses, he only needs to drink a small sip, and if the master loses, he only needs a large drink. Anyway, after thinking about it, Sugu realized that as a maid head, there was nothing he was not good at. She is also a member of the Lucky Ship Club, so forget it and don't ask for trouble. It's almost as good as playing counter-attack with the little maid. The younger sister is as good as the older sister in terms of service, but is still much weaker in other aspects. In particular, she is shy, which makes people feel quite satisfied. Anyway, Hood and Royal Oak started fighting in the cabin, while Sugu sat by the bed. On a whim, Sugu said, "My M1, do you know you have a sister?" M1 took off his white cloth shoes, crawled over Sugu's bed, and responded noncommittally. His sister, whom he had never met before, didn't know at all and didn't care. I thought to myself that I had seen the illustrated book in the academy and had also seen the photos. M2 has a round face, flat bangs, and long pink hair tied into twin tails. She is still a perverted little traitor wearing a swimsuit with her little fangs exposed. M1, your sister is called M2. If we meet her on the sea in the future, we must take her back to the garrison. M1 agreed wholeheartedly, but she didn't seem to take it to heart at all. She just went in one ear and out the other. She rolled on the bed many times, hugged Sugu's pillow, sniffed it, and said, "Sister reputation won't give it to me, go to the sea and play." "Don't say going into the sea, it's better to go into the water." M1 hugged Sugu from behind, hugged his neck, and asked, "Going into the sea and into the water don't mean the same thing. The reason must not be stated as it would damage the image." Sugu casually said, "Taboo. Oh, my sister is so famous that she won't even let me play in the water. In fact, M1 has complained many times, and everyone does not allow her to swim in the sea. As a gun diver, she also likes the feeling of being surrounded by sea water." Sugu knew what was going on and had heard the explanation. After all, she was just a gun diver, not a powerful ship girl. "And I'm alone, so I don't feel at ease." It reminded Sugu that when he was at home, it didn't matter if he wanted to go out to play. No matter what, he had to have friends with him, even if his friends were more unreliable than him. Sugu said, "Everyone is worried that you will be in danger. When we return to the town hall, there will be U-47, U-81, U-505, and Sukufu. We can go out together, but we can't go too far." M1 nodded happily. As a little Lolita, she didn't care at all about the hatred between the British and German ships. Besides, they had been on a good mission together before, so they had a good relationship. Sugu then thought of the naughty U-47, who hugged his neck in an imitative manner before he left. "Admiral, I want to go out too, I want to find M1. In fact, she and M1 are just friends, and their relationship is average. The wolves are good friends." Letting go of Sugu's neck, M1 sat on the edge of the bed. She has the character of a little slut, and she also has the most favorable impressions of Sugu among these little Lolita, and likes to cling to Sugu the most. She lay in Sugu's arms again, her belly on Sugu's legs, her limbs swimming like fish, and said, "Have the big mackerel and archer fish not gone back yet?" "No. Speaking of this, if nothing else, the big mackerel in the game, the loving cook, is so cute. Needless to say, the archer fish, the big broken pop-up painting makes people want to stop. Come to think of it, the archerfish was just used as a secretary ship for several days. When we got here, we were repeatedly called out by everyone in the governor's house. It was enough to harass Helena. It didn't matter that the little princess who fell was indeed in need of education and refused to be repaired. But doing such a thing to an archerfish was unbearable. Go to the perverted admiral. It's better to die, of course I'm just talking." M1 began to swing his legs and asked, "Admiral, how long will it take for us to go back?" Sugu silently calculated in his mind, unable to give an accurate number, and said to himself, "How many days have we been gone?" Standing nearby, Sheng Sheng saw Sugu raising her head and closing her eyes, thinking hard, and she reported a number. Sugu suddenly realized, it's been so many days. Counterattack was peeling an apple when she said, the cruise ship didn't encounter any deep-sea ship girls along the way. If this continues, we can return to our garrison soon. Reputation said, the main thing is to be suppressed by the garrison along the road. Sugu suddenly smiled and said, I remembered that before boarding the ship, I heard about the deep-sea flagship at the ship's headquarters and wondered if I would meet them. This is a smooth journey even for ordinary deep-sea ships. It's a rhythm that even my mother has never encountered. Sheng Sheng said, actually, even if there is a deep-sea ship girl in front of us, we don't know about it. As the escort of the cruise ship, the ship girl is clearing the way in front, so everyone behind will definitely not understand the situation. Sugu thought of those people doing maintenance. If there was no problem, what use would you have? If something goes wrong, what's the use of you? He said, does this mean that a person who is good at fighting has no great achievements? It doesn't count. No matter what information we get along the way as a cruise ship escort, everything is recorded. When we encounter any enemies, we take detours. When we encounter any enemies, we eliminate them. Whoever gets the most victory, who gets the most damage. Sugu nodded in agreement and chatted with Sheng Sheng about the other party's work. M1 watched helplessly as the admiral, who was talking to her nicely, suddenly ignored her. She stood up and punched Sugu with her fist, then jumped out of bed and ran away. At the same time, Sugu was a little confused. Suddenly cheers started. It turned out that Hood had won Royal Oak, and the audience was more excited than the participants. Sugu glanced at it, then turned around and said, I just told Hood that the sea area is called the Mediterranean, and Italy stayed here in the Old World. Speaking of Italians, Italians actually advocate art and love romance, and they have no desire for contact in their bones. There are other reasons, such as Mussolini's stupidity, arrogance, and incompetence. The incompetence of one general exhausted the three armies. But no matter so much, it is politically correct to be stupid. Sugu grabbed Somares who was walking by and said, do you think there is a possibility that all the Italy groups in our garrison are here? The counterattack was funny, I don't know, but if they are here, you will suffer. Why? She counterattacked and looked around. Little lowly Somares blinked at her, and her shoulders slumped. After thinking about it, she finally opened her hands and counted the numbers. The destroyer humiliates Veneto, the conscience is full of Veneto, the front and rear do not distinguish Veneto, the little lotus shows its sharp corners, hollow, as if walking on the ground, a smooth river. The counterattack suddenly laughed, hug and listened to the heartbeat. Sugu lowered his head and put his hand on his forehead, fight back, I remind you, don't make trouble on your own. I never said this. He countered, Master, whatever you say to me, I will keep it all in mind. Sugu thought to himself, you are trying to tease me by counterattacking, it would be better if you had more courage. Sugu looked out the window and said, to be honest, no matter Veneto or Andria, Italy are all little Lolita. Master, just don't say it in front of Veneto, and don't call Andrea a strange name, like some kind of Ellie, like some kind of daughter, she really knows how to hit people. The counterattack was directed at Sugu pointed, if you dare to call me Ellie, be careful and I will blow you away. Sugu smiled and said, if you fight back, you will protect me. Certainly. Sheng Sheng looked at her sister, she smiled, and noticed her sister in return. She quickly blushed and lowered her head. Sugu didn't notice anything. He said, do you think Veneto has become a gangster, turned into the mafia? Think about it, a large group of little Lolita wearing suits and sunglasses, and then lined up in a row, they are super handsome. He countered, definitely not. How can a ship girl become a mafia and then kill people, set fires, and sell drugs? Sugu said, there is a saying, there must be a Lich King, otherwise without a master, the Scourge Legion will become even crazier and unstoppable. Justice itself exists objectively. For a ship girl, right or wrong only depends on her conscience. As long as she thinks she has done nothing wrong, the ship girl will not have any burden. Her heart is toward the light and her body is toward the darkness. So is there a way? It is possible that Veneto will unify the underworld for the sake of justice. Even if the underworld still commits crimes, it will be unified and have a rule. It will not be so chaotic and the harm will definitely be less. Reputation smiled softly, the underworld should not exist. Just because a big mistake turns into a small mistake, it doesn't mean there is nothing wrong. Sugu said, the truth is this, all underworlds should be banned. It's just that if there is no way to ban it, there will definitely be people who don't like to follow the rules, don't like to do things, but like to make money quickly. In this case, wouldn't it be better to control it and ensure that the harm of the underworld is as small as possible? Reputation put his hands on the apron and said, stability is more important than anything else. Sugu shook his head and said, forget it, let's not discuss this anymore. I'm just a junior admiral and a nobody. Counterattack had already peeled the apple and handed it to Legion. She looked at Sugu and asked, Master, do you want it? Sugu raised his hand to refuse. Counterattack picked up another apple and said, it's impossible. Even if Veneto wants to be the boss of the mafia, no one will recognize her as the boss. Counterattack stood up, raised his hand and put it on his waist, and continued, Veneto is only a little tall. She likes to sit on the ship suit and drink coffee. She is mainly worried that everyone will find her short. Her expression is very serious. The dress is also very mature, with black gloves, a suit shirt, black silk suspenders, red high heels, and a mesh top hat, but it really doesn't work, it's too small. Sugu smiled. In fact, he knew very well that this was not possible. It was ridiculous. He rested his chin on the head of Somares, who was in his arms, and said, speaking of which, I came here once and forgot to run over here. Veneto is such a strong ship girl, think about her with his personality, he probably doesn't like to live in seclusion, and he definitely doesn't want to be unknown, probably.